If somebody has a single family home, could you walk us through the steps that would be required legally in order to convert that single family home, whether you're taking it from, you know, a single family to a triplex, or you're just adding a unit in the basement? What are the steps that that homeowner is going to need to take from a construction standpoint in order to execute on that?
Sure. So I guess there's two different ways to look at it. If you're acquiring a new property, before you do the acquisition, you want to make sure that you are working with a focused people that can help you find out the actually zoning of the property and what's actually allowed to happen there. That gets missed sometimes and it ends up becomes bigger issue. And if you already have the property, then that's great. And then what we want to do first is we want to also confirm that zoning to let us know what we can do. So if we have a property and we're saying we're going to add that unit, first step is if we have the proper zoning, then we look into getting the drawing and paperwork permit part done. And so what I do is I hire a BCIN designer and we'll draw up plans that meets the building code, and we'll submit for permits so we actually can do the construction. And if we're going to get into more like triplexes, fourplexes, there's more than likely going to be some more issues to be attend to, maybe minor variances or zoning changes. And that all gets done by the team we hire from the BCIN/designer department. And I just put my 2 cents in on the technical aspect. Once we've done that and we get it submitted to the city, then we do the pre-construction planning with you to obviously get our quotes, our budgets, our layouts, all that fun stuff to make sure we get what you want and we're going to maximize your return on investment.
Okay, so obviously, so someone's gone through that step. From an electrical side, plumbing, gas, fire safety, accessibility, emergency exits. What is kind of the bare minimum requirements? Obviously, it's specific to our region here in Southern Ontario, and different municipalities, those requirements may change. What is the bare minimum requirement that someone would be looking at as far as making a space that would be a rental compliant?
So it's important to know each region's rules, but once you get past their rules on, say, bedroom sizes or parking is a big one. Once we get into it, we're past that point and we have our technical aspect. There's a couple different sections of the building code, and this gets kind of technical, but I'll just do it briefly. Nowadays, for a second unit, we try to use Part 11 of the building code, which is very minimum code, and it's got some cheat rules in it for cost purposes. Basically, we need a minimum sound rating of 50, which is just simply how we build the assembly to make sure that we're not going to have crazy sound. And then we have a minimum fire rating of 20 minutes if we use this. We have to have interconnected smoke detectors. We have to have an induct smoke detector. That's your basic minimum fire safety. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, and I'll go into it and I'll show you where you can find that information. On a plumbing and electrical standard, each trade has their own rules. Plumbing is pretty straightforward rules across the board. It's a fixture count. It's a size of water lines separating the water between the two units. Electrical has a minimum service size, so when we have to do a service calculation, we can't just leave a 100 amp panel and run 2 electric stoves and 2 electric dryers, for example. We have to have a minimum service size of 125 amps. So usually we just put it to 200, and usually we separate it so tenants pay their own hydro. HVAC, we need an induct smoke detector and make sure it has adequate airflow, and we protect each unit with that induct smokes and make sure that we have adequate cold air. That's the kind of thing. There's about 80. I run it in about 85 steps to do a duplex conversion, but the minimum you need for each thing, each section has its own difference, and it gets long and winded from there. But even if you have an existing basement that is finished and you want to bring it up to fire code, some cities will let you keep the existing drywall rating. Some cities won't, and that's something that your designer and contractor will help you walk through. And obviously, there's a big difference in cost. But there's also things to consider, like if you leave it, you're going to have terrible noise transfer. Are you willing to accept that? And the tenant complaints, that kind of thing.